Hey yo, today we have to absolutely take a look at a character who was possibly one of the most psychopathic in Marvel history, and that being the original Human Torch from 1939. You're gonna see the kind of insane things this guy used to do just in his first issue alone, but what's revealed in his second issue is really gonna convince you that this guy was a straight up lunatic. We start in the home of Professor Horton. Speaking to members of the press, he lets them in on some trouble he's been having with his latest work, which in a somewhat similar vein to Frankenstein is a synthetic man. What is that trouble? Every time this android comes into contact with oxygen, he bursts into flames. Now of course something like this could never go wrong, so Horton simply refuses to destroy him, just in case he figures out how to control the flame. Even when other scientists are shown the danger of the Human Torch and agree that it should be destroyed, Horton is still adamant in keeping him around. So as a compromise, Horton places the torch in a steel case and entombs it in concrete. Since nothing can ever just go right, an oxygen leak allows the torch to escape, and I think this is really the beginning of the lunacy. Immediately, the torch runs through the city, burning civilians and destroying property. But to be fair, he isn't doing this on purpose, he just doesn't understand how dangerous he is. But I think this panel is interesting because it's like he doesn't understand what's going on, but at the same time perfectly understands. He knew from the start that he turns into flame, but yet at the same time is surprised by it. Some firemen try to put him out, and he seems kinda like a child with how he finds the whole thing funny. He ends up getting away and comes across a pool to use in order to put out his flames. Lucky for him, this is the pool of a crime boss named Sardo. Sardo gets his right-hand guy, Red, to trap the torch in the pool by placing a glass cover over it and draining all the water. Of course, Sardo plans to use the torch in his racketeering schemes, and for whatever reason has a diving suit on hand. He uses it to get the torch out of the pool after filling it with water again, and lets him loose in a warehouse as part of his racket scheme. This whole time the torch thought Sardo was trying to help him, but magically figures out he's actually a racketeer. For someone who spent most of his life buried in concrete, he sure knows a lot about crime. And I think figuring this out made him lose his mind because this is where things really get crazy.
What's this flash of fire coming into my place? Why, it's the Human Torch.
Ha! You're a fool, Sardo. Why lock the door? I'll get you in the end.
Good lord, he's burning through the doors. I've gotta hide, but where? I got it. My underground lab.
Yes, this guy has an underground lab.
It's steel, it'll stop him.
Sardo's mob leave their leader and try to run away when they see the torch.
We can't wait for Sardo, let's duck quick. Say, it's the torch, he fired the house.
As the Human Torch leaps forward, the others spread out, some diving into the pool. Sardo's man, Red, ducks under a nearby car. Jumping through space like a comet, the Human Torch lands on the car and melts the body as if it were made of butter.
Help! The heat's killing me.
That rat burned all right, and those fellows in the pool will come up for air. Now for Sardo.
The Human Torch, having scalded the gangsters in the pool by turning water to steam, runs back into the flaming house, seeking Sardo's hideout. Yeah, this dude is a straight up psychopath.
Heh. So you think you'll get me, eh? Not in a million years, Mr. Torch.
Hello, rat.
But suddenly, Professor Horton shows up with firemen and notices a tank of nitrogen. Before he can get to it, the torch also sees it and grabs it. It explodes in his arms, making his flame die down. The torch goes back inside to Sardo, who tries to spark a deal with him after realizing nitrogen kills his flames. Then Torch just takes the tank and starts trashing the laboratory, giving Sardo a chance to pick up a bucket of acid. He throws it at him, but the bucket explodes, killing him. The torch takes the tank of nitrogen and messes around with it and unlocks the ability to control his flame. He can now turn it on and off and throw fireballs. After leaving Sardo's burnt house, the torch gets caught by some cops and actually allows them to take him in. He has to go to court but gets let off and put into Horton's custody. After learning the torch can now control his flame, Horton proposes the idea of them making money through his abilities. But this doesn't sit right with him and he burns a hole in the ceiling and leaves Horton behind. In issue 2, we start with a man and a woman talking about the latest news story, and this is what the lady says.
I say it was an awful crime for the torch to burn up Horton's home and kill him.
That's right. Horton's home was burned down and he was killed when the torch burned a hole through the ceiling. But this isn't actually true. It's much worse. Issue 2 actually starts with notes written down by Professor Horton before he died. The notes summarize the events that happened in the first issue, but the last note is what I want to highlight. Bringing him into my laboratory, I saw possibilities to make a legitimate fortune. The torch misunderstood my views, and burning a hole through the ceiling as he pointed his hand upward, he leaped through it as he left a terrible warning to all. No one shall ever use me for personal gains, or have me confined to any one place. I shall always be free to protect those on whom others inflict themselves for selfish purposes. And he was gone. Where? Do you know what this means? After the torch left Horton's home, at some later time, he showed up again to end Horton's life in a horrible way. This wasn't some accident. This was premeditated.
Perhaps it was his own fault, ma'am. He saw possibilities of making a fortune for himself. Obviously, the torch didn't approve.
That was not in the papers. How did you know?
If only this lady knew who she was talking to.